Hi everyone, this is Melissa. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to work on our 2020 swap project for April. April's project are fabric flips. Gather your supplies. You'll need ribbon, fabric, lace strips. Make sure that the size fits no bigger than 3 1/4 by 6 3/4. You don't want it to overhang the page. Grab paper or fabric scraps, fussy cut images, buttons, gemstones, embellishments, and glue of choice. I will be using Fabri-Tac. I am going to be doing some sewing on them, but just a little bit. So go ahead and grab your stuff and we'll be right back. I've gone ahead and put together several ideas for the fabric flips. One, yes, is paper. Actually, two are paper. But you can use whatever you can gather, whatever you have in your huge stash. I have a very large bit, and this is only one portion of fabric bits and ribbons and all that stuff, so that's what I used to pick through this, and a little bit of paper that I had sitting around from previous projects. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. It is, get these out of the way. It's just a piece of material that I got in a package from Sheila Gingrich. And another piece, a scrap of lace, a button, and a little bit of blanket satin, just for a little bit of color. And again, I'm only going to be using Fabri-Tac for the most part and stitching later. So I'm using a little bit of wax paper so I don't get it on my board. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and tack down the little bit of a lace scrap. And I wanted a little bit of the fringe to show through. As I tore it was satin blanket binding, and I tore it and it gave a nice little frayed edge there. And then I'll go ahead and glue this on. Now these are all going to be very simple, very quick, very simple. And then for the button, which is a absolutely gorgeous button, I don't know if the color will come through. Beautiful pastel, pearly, opalescent colors. And just for measurement, this one is about 3 1/4, and it will end up being 4 1/4 in length. And on my buttons, I like to tie a little bow, or, sorry if I'm going off screen. Oop, if it'll let me. Oh, I made it too small. Okay. We will go ahead and tie the opposite way. So it locks in, And there will be no bow this time. And I'm going to attach that there. I am just going to use Fabri-Tac, and I'll probably take a clear thread and sew it all the way through. Nice and simple. First little page embellishment, or I'm sorry, fabric flip. And just a little bit too large. It'll stick out just a little bit over the edge of the page. And you have one flip and two. Writing can be done underneath, secret writing. All right, there's number one. And let's go ahead and work on this one. This one I am going to sew, but we'll get it glued down first and then we'll go from there. You don't want to use a lot of Fabri-Tac because it will soak through, and if that part of the material is not covered, it will show through. I am going to put just a little dab on the ends of this so it doesn't fray and come unraveled too much. Just wanted a little bit more texture underneath the butterfly. Slight inking. Promise it will be quick. It goes really quick if you gather all your supplies and get a basic idea of what it is you want to create. You don't have to use fabric or lace. You can use strictly paper. That is purely up to you. And whatever creation you want to make for your partner. Okay, and there's the next one. See, told you it was really quick. The hardest part was gathering your supplies. So on the page, cut to fit, and hidden space for journaling or picture or whatever you like. And the next one I think is probably one of my favorites. This is just ribbon that I got in a swap, and it's kind of almost a gauze, but it has a bit of a texture to it. So I want that side on the bottom. All right, and I will be right back because this one I am going to sew. And I just did a zigzag. The 3 pieces of material. And the next is this little tiny scrap of lace. It was actually seamed together, so I'm not sure if it was used for, you know, an article of clothing or something. And I have these pretty little, whoops, a little bit of glue on my fingers, pretty little rose embellishment. Oops, that's set. I did use some acetone to thin out my Fabri-Tac. It was getting really gloppy. Okay, next one is done. Very simple. Adds interest to a page and, of course, hides whatever you put underneath it. And on to the next. I think we'll do this one. So for this one, I chose some handmade paper. I don't know if you can see the little bit of texture, kind of like mulberry paper. It is very delicate. Once it gets wet, it tears very easily. So you have to be careful if you're using any type of paint or anything like that. Make sure it's completely dry before you move it or handle it. It does not work for jelly printing very well. If you lay down the paper on really wet paint, it will pick up. But if it dries at all, then the paper will just come right off. So if you're looking to, you know, do ghost prints or something like that, unless the top layer of paint is very wet, it's not going to be successful. All right, again, I'm going to use Fabri-Tac and lay down my layers. This one I wanted first. It's just a scrap of a lace curtain. I have tons and tons of lace curtains, so you'll probably see a lot of them in future projects. And then I'm going to use the burlap. And again, this one I am going to sew. Take it down just a little bit. And just a zigzag stitch. I hope you're not getting a bunch of glare from that wax paper. This one, moving it over that way a little bit. And then this is a button that I got from Marsha Johnson. I got a whole bunch of buttons, lovely, lovely buttons. And there were, a lot of the buttons came on these cards, which I thought were awesome. But it does have the shank on the back. So I am going to take a little bit of string and lock it down on there with some Fabri-Tac. It will stick up just a little bit, but it didn't, it wasn't too much of a bother. And I did offset them a little bit. That will take a minute to dry. So I'm going to use some clamps. And set that aside, and we'll come back to it. The next one, I did some jelly printing on manila cardstock, and I really like that. I do want to round the corners a little bit here. It was gold paint, a little bit of a peachy color, some teal, and black. We were doing that, and I wanted to do a bunch of layers. Find out which side's the right one. And this is just a little bit of gauze. Lay across the top. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sew this, and I will be right back. I'm just going to sew single or straight stitch right around the square. Nibble off the strings. Do have a lot of strings with the gauze. Okay. And on this long piece of lace, I'm going to glue down those flowers, and we will tack up the butterfly right about there. I hope everyone is well and staying busy. I am working. My company is deemed an essential for any type of major home repairs or anything like that that you may need. Now this is a little off the color scheme of my book, which is, you know, olive greens and pinks, but that's all right. Gives you a little bit of an idea. You don't have to follow my color schemes. It's going to depend on what your partner wants and what your partner's book looks like. Okay. And we are all done. You know what it does need? I think we're going to add some bling. Oh, sorry about the camera shake. Where's the knife? Now these are pre-gummed. They do have an adhesive on them, but I've found a little bit of Fabri-Tac helps it to be a little bit more permanent. Here. And there's that one. So this flip there, whoops, ribbon flip there, fabric flip, and card, which can be put down as a pocket. I wouldn't put it on the top, but you know, on the side you could, did I find a small card? Hide something underneath there. Or, again, use it as a flip. All right, let's go back to this one real quick. So our little flip is done. Now you can sew them onto your page or you can glue them. I usually sew the pieces together or glue the pieces together and then glue it onto the page. So fabric, and paper. All right. We've now created 5 little fabric flips. I hope you enjoyed our little walkthrough and enjoy your day and the rest of this weekend. Bye now.